Hello, guys. Welcome to season 2. We've missed you guys so much. We hope you've missed us. So, for those of you who are just tuning in this season, we're both sisters and we both work in healthcare. I'm a mental health therapist and I own my own practice, New Path Therapy. And my sister Bridget is an obstetrician. Wow, hard one. And gynecologist.
Obstetrician.
And she currently works and resides in England. So we're both extremely passionate about women's health and health issues. And we hope that when you guys are listening to this podcast, you take a little something, you learn something from every episode. So we hope that you guys feel a part of our coven. And that's why we like to keep it very personal. I am a mom of 2 young children, so I will occasionally weigh in the ups and downs of parenthood in my journey. My sister Bridget is actually expecting her first child September 7th. So excited. So she's, very bright-eyed and optimistic and totally unaware of the terrors that await. Just kidding. It's beautiful. Sort of. So a few new updates for this season. First and foremost, which most people have been very excited for on our posts and reacted very well, is for the Tough Love with Jer Bear segment. So Jer Bear is our mother and, she's going to give it to us straight. So basically, we're going to ask her questions that relate to the topic of the current episode for the week, as well as maybe even, some write-in questions from the fans. And whatever she gives, we're going to let you know verbatim. We're just going to read her response back and it is what it is, So we hope that you love that segment. And some other updates will be that we do want to introduce video podcasting. So you will get to see these ugly faces. Just kidding. But we would like to wait mid-season when Bridget arrives for her maternity leave. So that way we can both, be on the video together and we won't have any technical difficulties. So mid-season, guys, expect that. Another update is that we will have new guests this season. We'll keep those a surprise for now. So with that, I'm going to let Bridget update you on her life. Take it away.
Yeah, we're so excited. Season 2. First of all, just about the Jer Bear thing, anything she says, don't take it personally. That is the point. She's brash and she doesn't have a filter. So please don't hold it against us if she says something that rubs you the wrong way. Just try to find the comedy in it all and take it lightly, just like we do. Okay.
Disclaimer, it does say tough love.
Yes, exactly. So before we dive into our episode, I just want to give a quick bump date. So when this airs, I'll be 30 weeks pregnant. So I'm in my 3rd trimester, finally. Still nothing fun. I've literally not had a craving or a mood swing. It's been so unremarkable. It's just I can't demand anything from my husband. I had my anti-D injection, which in the US is called Rogam, and in the UK and Europe it's called Rofalac. So I do want to explain what that is, because a lot of people, so if you're not rhesus negative, you don't know what this is. So it's basically an injection that will protect my future pregnancies. So if you're rhesus negative, like I am, my blood type is A negative, you will, and you have a baby that is a blood type with a positive, you can form antibodies against them. Your first pregnancy is a freebie. It's a sensitizing event, just like allergies. Your first nut, you won't die, but then on your second one, you might have anaphylaxis. So your first one's a freebie. This baby is predicted to be a positive, rhesus positive blood type. So it is a sensitizing event for me. So that's why getting the anti-D injection is really important, because in my future pregnancies, if I have any rhesus positive babies, my body will fight it. It will make antibodies, think it's like an invader, and it will fight against it. It can cause very tragic 1st and 2nd trimester miscarriages. So that's why you get it. I feel anyone who's a rhesus negative blood type already knows this, because you've heard the stories, your mom was probably rhesus negative. So I grew up my whole life knowing I would have to do this. And anytime, if I have any vaginal bleeding, depends what country you're in, how you say that. If you have any bleeding from your vagina, or if you have any significant bump to the belly, if I fell, I would have to go in and get an injection. But I just had my normal one. So when you're 24 to 28 weeks, they give you a prophylactic one if you're rhesus negative. So that's the only thing in my pregnancy. Otherwise, not much is going on.
I did not have to do that.
You're A positive blood.
Yeah. And John's O positive. Is O positive the one that's universal? That's what he is.
Well, there's a universal donor and a universal acceptor. So universal acceptor is O positive. Yeah.
I guess I think that's what he is. But I know I'm obviously yeah, I'm A positive. So yeah, I didn't have
Yeah.
to do that. So thank God.
Yeah. Of course you didn't. You're lucky. Interesting thing about Jerry though, so she's a negative. So like I said, your first pregnancy is a freebie. So like even if you lived in a world without any health care, you were in a cave. So Marissa obviously was her first child. She's my older sister. And she's A positive. So first one's a freebie. So even if Jerry lived in a cave and literally never had the Roflac or the Rogam, the next two children, me and my brother, are both A negative, and so we're matches with Jerry. So we all would have been born and healthy, even if she was in like caveman times, which is so interesting.
It's sort of like Jerry to get that lucky, though. Of course, it worked out perfectly.
I know, it's very lucky for her. So this baby's predicted to be A positive or positive blood type. They don't give you the type; they just tell you positive or negative. So I'm like really hoping my next ones are predicted to be negative because it's so annoying being like ultra careful. Like anytime I hit a door, I'm like, ah.
Please don't go hitting doors.
I'm clumsy and I like rush around at work. Like I like look like a chicken with my head cut off. I like run around at work like ah, and I just like walk
Mhm.
into things. So I'm like, I really need to be
Mhm.
more careful.
Well, I've seen you, and you are very small. You don't even look pregnant at all. But still, just even the little bump, is it weird for you to get used to, like spatially aware? That was what was hard for me. I was like, oh crap, wait, I have body there.
Yeah, it is actually. It's so weird. Like little things you just don't think about. Like when you wake up in the morning, sometimes you genuinely just like forget and like you try to get out of bed how you normally do and you're like, "No, no, no, I'm turtling." Like you're like, "I can't get up." And you're like, "Oh yeah, there's a bump there." Like or like in the shower, you look down and you're like, "Why can't I see my vagina?" Like
No, seriously, no one prepared me for the fact that I was not going to be able to make it all pretty and shiny and shaven. Like there were
oh my
patches,
god.
okay? It was looking rough.
Yeah, I'm doing it like all by feel. Also, I bought like wax strips and I think I might ask Ted to just wax me.
No, oh my God, don't be embarrassed. I asked John one time, I was like, listen, I am not giving birth with a hairy cooch. You got to get down there and shave. Like, put in the work, boy. Also, if it helps, I on Amazon you can get one of those shower things, the mirrors that like are anti
Mm.
steam and fog or whatever. So I have one of those, and I would put it in my shower so I can see down there.
It's actually a good idea. I did think about that, but I didn't think about it in my shower. I was like, I might just have to get
Mhm.
out of the shower and shave. No, I like that
Oh
better.
no,
Okay, I might
yeah, oh
order one
no.
of those. Thank you.
Uh-huh. You're welcome.
Or I'll just steal yours when I'm back in the States.
No, mine broke because of my children's. The last
Okay, I'll buy one.
It was actually recent. They were playing with it, unaware of what it was used for, and they threw it on the floor and it broke.
Oh, dang it. Okay, well, I'll have to buy one. Because honestly, like you're just like scrubbing your body and you look down and you're like, oh, yeah, I can't see like past my belly button now.
God dang it.
God dang it is right. So today we're talking about the everyday effects of infertility, how someone's newfound joy can impact our closest friends and family. So let's dive in. So, the WHO, the World Health Organization, states that 17.5% of the adult population, roughly 1 in 6 worldwide, will experience infertility. So, it's very common phenomenon, and we all know someone who is struggling with this, whether we're aware of it or not. Since the dawn of social media, though, and the notion that there is no shame in sharing our fertility journeys, we are all becoming more aware of everyone's unique stories and unique struggles. So it just feels a bit more common and more talked about nowadays. We're also witnessing a shift in how we talk about pregnancies. People are no longer told to keep it hush hush for the first 12 weeks in case of an early miscarriage. Obviously, that's like the old guard, how you were brought up, like you don't tell anyone except your husband, your partner, because if you have a miscarriage, like then you have to explain yourself. Whereas the new way of thinking is that since miscarriages are so common, we shouldn't be ashamed of them and we shouldn't be afraid to tell people our pregnancy. So share your pregnancy with others, share your joy whenever you feel comfortable, even if that means you've just had your first scan, maybe you're 7 weeks, you just came from the OB. And if you're excited and you want to share with people, you absolutely can, and you should feel empowered to do that. And you shouldn't feel like, oh, well, then if we have an early miscarriage, I have to explain myself. You don't have to. You can explain as much or as little as you want. So that's just kind of a shift in the way of thinking that I definitely wanted to talk about. So now that Marissa and I are both of an age where basically all of our friends are getting married or having children, buying houses, etc., it just feels like we're constantly going to weddings, showers, and baptisms.
And first birthdays.
And first birthdays, yeah. So we wanted to talk about how for some of our closest friends, it may be difficult when your entire social calendar is celebrating love or babies, and maybe you aren't in that place just yet. Maybe you haven't found your person, or you're undergoing fertility treatments. Or maybe you've been trying for a year or two and you just can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Obviously, you're happy for your friends and your family, but constantly basking in another's joy can become very tiring. So I was reading an article I just wanted to share with you guys. It's very interesting. Kirsten McLennan wrote an op ed for Motherly in January 2023, where she perfectly explains her feelings toward baby showers as someone undergoing infertility treatment and investigations. So she states she had to, quote, put her life first and opt out of attending certain events because they would upset her. And of course, this would make her feel, quote, guilty and selfish for not attending. But after speaking with other women experiencing the same feelings, she decided it's okay to decline the invite. And she closes by saying, quote, dealing with infertility is hard. It's all consuming. It's unfair. So if you are feeling upset or jealous about baby showers, know that it is okay. Your feelings are valid. Be kind to yourself because that's what you need to surround you during such a difficult time. So, in the article, she basically says, if it's a very close friend who knows her silent struggle, she will go to their baby shower because that friend will have checked in with her, asked how she's doing. So she feels like, I want to be there to support my friend. But you get invites from people who you're not maybe that close with anymore, friends from college, etc. And she wouldn't attend those because, those women didn't know what she was going through. And she just felt so tired of faking it. She found herself putting herself to work. She would offer to, mix cocktails for everyone who's not pregnant or work in the kitchen and help serve out the hors d'oeuvres because she just needed a distraction for those few hours at the shower. And that's really, really tiring. It drains you. You shouldn't always have to be thinking about your escape route. You're an adult. You should have every right to be comfortable and happy in your own life. And so she just made the decision not to attend anymore. And I think that's a really important lesson that people need to learn, is that you can say no and you don't have to have a reason. And I just found that really interesting and, I don't know, very thought provoking and kind of eye opening, because we are at a time in our lives where it feels like some of the only reasons we get together, you get the whole crew together, all your friends, is probably like a wedding shower or a baby shower or a baptism or the wedding. Like, you're just constantly meeting for the same type of events with a different theme and a different, woman of the hour. And if you're not having any of those, I think that's really frustrating. Marissa, I want your opinion on this. So I don't know if you've seen this because it's all over social media, but maybe 2 weeks ago, some woman wrote like an op-ed, and it went viral, about how every few years her and her girlfriends get together for a girls trip, and it's a big group of them. They're all from college. They know each other forever. And this year she said no, because she's the only one who's not married or having a child. So she said, when we go on these girls' trips, the conversation, they're in their 30s now, it
Mhm.
naturally shifts to like mortgage, parenting, schools, future pregnancies. And she just can't identify with any of it. She's like, I'm not a homeowner. I'm not in a serious relationship. I'm not engaged. Like, none of this is on the horizon for me. I don't have a child. So she was like, I love you guys, but actually, I'm just going to opt out of this girls' trip because none of the conversation I have nothing to I have no input. What do you think about that? Because she got a lot of polarizing answers.
I've actually have seen something similar in my practice, and I will say what I've said to this woman. So you have your core friends, right? Your friends you've grown up with that will probably be there, even though they may dip in and out of your life. So you can always pick back up. They're never not going to be, your friend and know you very well. But what happens is we have seasons of life, and in seasons of life, you can have friends for certain seasons. So I think that is totally fine. you feel like what's best for you is, you need to politely decline. Nothing wrong with that. It's your life. I mean, people decline all the time for other reasons like work and stuff, or if your kid's sick. So why not politely decline for your mental health? Totally fine. But what I would say to her, and maybe someone did or she figured it out on her own, is find those friends for this season of life, people you can relate to. Because I think that would do a great deal for your mental health if you could also get together with a group of women who are exactly where you are.
Yeah, definitely. Completely agree. There are always, you're going to have single friends you can make. You're going to have friends
Mhm.
who are in the same exact position as you, just like you said, same season of life, who are still like, you know what, we're in our early 30s. Like, I'm still dating around. Like, I'm still dating casually and I'm building a
Mhm.
career still. And I
Mhm.
have no 5-year plan in the horizon where I'm definitely going to be married with kids and, moving into our new home. So I think that's a
Mhm.
great point. Like you can find
Mhm.
those friends who are still like, we're only 32, 33. Like we're still young. Like I still want to go out. I still want to have fun.
Mhm.
I still want to have more of like a hot girl summer. And
Yeah.
they exist and you can find them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The world is big, everyone. um, but I mean, this is a little bit different but than this, but even in my own personal life, like my best friends, Nicole and Stephanie, they still go to bars, right? They still go out with their men. They don't have any children currently, and they can do that. And they always invite me. They're always very polite and they extend the invite, but I politely decline, usually due to kids or I'm just exhausted or I work at night. And they understand. They never make me feel bad, and honestly, they almost expect it to me to say no. They just still extend it because they're my best friends. But it happens. Season of life. We're in different seasons and we understand that we're not always going to meet up and want to do the same things. Totally fine. Just like I don't think they're going to want to come hang out with me at a birthday party with like balloons and loud kids screaming and boogers. Like I get it. I'm not offended. Like I get it.
And it's important to know that true friends, like the ones you've had forever,
Mhm.
eventually you will all come back around and your different circles will link up again because at some point you'll all be like, yeah, let's go out for a meal again. Our kids are a little bit older now, maybe. Like
Mhm.
eventually it will all fall back in line, just like how it did in your early 20s when you had no
Mhm.
responsibilities. And you will find that groove again just because you don't want to go out now because yeah, like you have toddlers. Okay, you're not going to have toddlers forever. So eventually you will have that freedom back.
Yes, I completely agree. And for those who may answer you with, well, we'll never meet back up because I ended up having, infertility for years and never having kids, and they have kids, and kids are still the topic, even though they're grown. I would say if they are really good friends, they will understand a polite conversation about, can we stray away from these topics because it hurts me? Like I'm just not there yet. A friend would understand that and would never make you feel bad and completely make that accommodation for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Until you find that place in your life where you're completely happy, maybe, and accepting that, maybe kids just aren't in the cards for you and you're all much older then and maybe you have
Mhm.
completely come to terms with it and you're comfortable and sharing the joy of your best friend's children, maybe, until you're there, you should definitely feel empowered to speak up and say, can we please leave kids off the table because it is painful for me and it makes the night not fun.
Mhm. Absolutely. But I would like to, give praise to that woman because, there are a lot of women out there who might struggle to set those boundaries, but then they go and then, they may seem a certain way or upset on the trip and then everyone's wondering like, oh, did something wrong? Is she sick? Did we hurt her feelings? So I think honestly from the right out the gate, it was smart to just hold your boundary, be very polite, wish them well and fun on the trip and be like, it's just not for me this year, but I love you guys.
Yeah, and that's basically what she did. So I was like, this answer is
Mhm.
completely justified. Like, you're a woman in your
Mhm.
30s, like, you're an adult, you can make your own
Mhm.
decisions. Why would you spend your
Mhm.
hard earned money and your vacation time when you know you're really just like not in the same groove as your friends right now? And I was
Mhm.
like, this reason is completely legit. And I'm sure if these are her lifelong friends, they were probably like, yeah, no, good point, fine. But the internet just like went off. I'm like, how selfish could you be? And it's like, well, she doesn't want to spend her precious PTO like just talking about nursery school. Like,
Also, for anyone who made comments about how her being selfish, how selfish could you be to not understand that your friend is hurting? Like, what if she's going through infertility? Like, what if this, I don't know if she was, but what if there was a woman that was, and you're like, no, suck it up. You should be here to celebrate us. How selfish is that?
I know. And if she knows she can't contribute to the conversation because she isn't there
Mhm.
in life yet, then what enjoyment really is she? Friendship is give and take. Like, yeah, you
Mhm.
obviously celebrate your friends completely, but for a whole
Mhm.
like week long vacation and nothing relates to you, like that's pretty dull.
I know this is why I'm not really a fan of these keyboard warriors, because if this were really a situation going on in my life and one of my friends said what she said, I would not be offended at all. In fact, I would reach out to her on the side, make sure she's okay, maybe even send her a little gift and be like, I miss you, let's catch up, maybe just us two, let's just do something us two soon.
Was just gonna say that. I was literally, you took the words out of my mouth. I would text her and be like, "Do you just want to grab dinner, you and I?" And then
Mhm.
obviously the conversation is whatever you two make it, because you're not
Mhm.
surrounded by, let's say, five other women who also have kids. So the conversation naturally keeps going back to kids. If it's just you two, it's 50-50. So
Mhm.
the conversation could be about her career, her
Mhm.
casual dating, whatever. It doesn't have to be about children until she asks about, oh, hey, how are the kids, by the way?
Yeah, yeah. No, I 100% agree. I'm actually shocked. I didn't see this, so you would know. But was the attack bad? Was there more negative than positive?
Would say at first yes, and then as the internet eventually does, reasonable people step in and are like, if this offends you, like, you're not a good friend, because I'm sure her friends were like, okay, fine, like, save your money.
Mhm.
But yeah, at first it was a lot of just like, I can't imagine being an adult and being this selfish, or like imagine thinking everything's about you, and it's like, well, it's her vacation too.
Mhm. So for that, just from my perspective, I feel like there's two things that could be going on here. Obviously, people are going to respond from their own perspective and life experiences. So maybe they can't fathom that, they can't understand it, or maybe they've had their own negative experience with maybe a bad friend, and when they read the story, they're viewing it through that lens instead of just like an unbiased lens, if that makes sense. So
Mm.
we can't, if I was the author, of this article, I would remind myself not to take things personally. People might have some transference issues, their own life experiences, their own traumas, or whatever. So they don't really know the full context, and that you just can't take it serious.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Yeah, I read it and I thought, this is interesting. Because I feel like a lot of people can totally identify with that. You know how people are like, your 30s are your new 20s. So we're like, I'm 29. I'm literally turning 30 like in a month, like less than a month. So I'm basically 30. But it is such an interesting time because you have friends who are literally
Mhm.
just like exactly how you guys were when you're 25, and you're like kind of jealous sometimes. You're like, ooh, damn, that's nice. um, and then you have some friends who, like you, like Mercy, you were the first one of your friends by many years, married, kids, house, boom. So you're
Mhm.
like caught in the middle of like friends who are married, friends who have children, and then like your hot girl summer friends. It's such a weird time. And I just like, when I read that article, I was like, I feel like every friend group can totally identify with this. Like, there's always that one rogue friend who's still like out partying, and you're like, a little jealous. You're like, oh, you still have that energy. Like, that's good. She should definitely, like, her pace is different. Like,
Right.
she's unattached. She can do things that the attached just usually
Right.
can't.
Right.
And
I
she should
know.
do it.
I'm
She
jealous.
should go live unattached.
Live for the rest of us. Run free.
Exactly. Yeah. And like good friends would say that. Like good friends would be like, yes, girl, get out
Sure.
there. Like if you still have the energy to go out, do it.
Absolutely. I mean, Nicole, right? Hey, Nicole,
Yeah.
shout out. Nicole goes on cruises and vacations all the time. Nicole, I live through your posts. Keep doing it. I live through them. I feel like I go on a little vacation each time.
Yeah. Like a true supportive friend is like, ooh, damn, that's nice. Like good for them.
Absolutely.
Like you're not like bitter because they have a different
No.
life journey.
No. True, like you said, true good friends with good intentions. They celebrate your wins no matter how big or small, no matter what your journey looks like compared to them. There's no competing, there's no nothing, there's just no judgment, just supportive. That's all.
Yeah. Shout out to true friends.
Shout out to true friends. So funny. But yes, no, I have to say, like, I'm glad she wrote this article because I think it sheds some light on maybe important things that are happening in our generation, like you mentioned, Bridget. And I'm so sad for all the horrible comments you received. But we support you. Good decision. Proud of you.
Yes, proud of you, sweetie.
Snaps. But yeah, so that's good. But infertility, this is a big topic. I know we discussed this first season, so we did want to bring into the second season this topic related to baby showers because, like my sister Bridget mentioned, we are currently in the season where there's a ton of marriages, babies, baptisms, first birthdays, everything. But we both have a part of our groups that don't have any of those things yet because they're doing their own thing. They're following their career. They have Hot Girl Summer going. That's cool too. They're traveling. Amazing. Wish it was me. I'm very jealous.
Mhm.
So everyone is in a different season. It's important for everybody to remember that everybody's journey is so different. And the only thing that has changed in our generation is that we now have social media. And that's why comparing is at an all time high, right? Because like our parents didn't have this. So you couldn't really compare unless, you were keeping in contact with your closest friends. And that's the only people's lives you were privy to. But now we see everyone's lives, whether you're a celebrity or a normal person, and they unfold in real time for all of us. So we have a problem of feeling like because we're a part of the journey, like we are their friends and we're along for the ride, and we feel like we have access and we get to judge, and that's just not right, because everyone's life is different. We don't need to compare. We don't need to be where somebody else is. Different is good. I can't imagine if we were all the same. How boring.
Mhm.
So sorry for that rant, guys. But okay, so I'm going to I rant a lot. Anyway,
We love a
so
rant.
oh my goodness. Just wait to the video podcasting, guys. We're gonna go off. Anyway. So just a little bit on, the mental health aspect of this and some things I have seen when I've worked with, this particular demographic of clients. So it's important to remember that mixed emotions are normal. I feel like I'm constantly telling everybody, even people not dealing with this, just any client, that two things can be true at the same time. And even honestly, more than two things. For instance, you can be at a baby shower and be suffering with infertility and be so sad and jealous, but also happy for your best friend and not trying to take away from her happiness. Like your sadness and jealousy really doesn't have anything to do with her in particular. It's just the fact that you've been wanting and waiting for this baby and you're watching others get it, especially if they're like the couple that wasn't even trying, and instantly pregnant. And that hurts. That hurts when you're actively trying and you're actively doing maybe even IVF. Like that hurts. So I get it. And I make sure I validate this client. We talk about it, we process it, and that's okay. You're not a bad person. You're allowed to have these feelings, totally valid. Next, we might work on some boundary setting for themselves. Now remember, boundaries are about you, not about other people. So we don't set boundaries on other people, just ourselves. So a boundary for this client might look like sending a gift and a beautiful card written about, I'm so sorry I couldn't make it. I love you. I wish nothing but the best for you and the baby. I can't wait to see, you give birth, blah, blah, blah. Here's the gift I know you wanted. I hope you get to use it. So excited for you. Love you lots. Something similar to that. And you politely decline. You do not need to go to a shower if you feel that you cannot be fully present and enjoy it. If you feel like it's going to hurt your mental health, it's okay. Decline. We're understanding. We're not going to if it's a real good friend, no judgment at all. I would rather you just be honest, and that way I can reach out to you and see, how you're doing, and we can make other plans. So that would be what we would work on there for the boundary setting. Next, I have some tips for friends and family. We're going to go over phrases that people should avoid, and I will preface this by saying there's never ill intent when people say these things. I think that maybe people who have never dealt with this, or just they don't know what to say in an uncomfortable situation, just don't know what to say. So these things might kind of fly out of their mouth quickly, and they just try to make it feel less awkward and feel comforting, even if it's not. So I understand that these are not meant in any bad manner, but we should probably learn maybe not to say these things going forward. And I'll offer at the end something that you could possibly say instead that might be more helpful. So, okay, some phrases that we should avoid when we are speaking with people dealing with infertility. Just relax, it will happen. You can
Mm.
always adopt. Maybe this is God's plan. Well, at least you know you can get pregnant now. Just try again. At least you miscarried early on in the pregnancy and not later. It wasn't meant to be. Kids are super hard, trust me. You don't want them. It could be worse. Have you tried XYZ? My cousin tried XYZ and she got pregnant right away. So obviously, these are not meant in a bad manner, but these comments can often feel dismissive and hurtful to people struggling with infertility. And something that you might want to say in place would sound like, how are you doing? I'm here for you and I can see how difficult this is. How can I help? How can I show you that I care? Do you need anything? Simple phrases like that, they seem, more open-ended. They're questions in regards to if they really need anything from you. And it just shows that you're there to support them. And it's okay. No matter what your healing journey look like, they're there for you. And I feel like that would be nicer sounding than the other ones.
Yeah. So even if you have said some of those things in the past and you were like, it's completely unintentional, I didn't mean to offend anyone, that's fine. Like, we're not, like actors, we're not improv specialists. Like, a lot of us are in a conversation that maybe we find awkward and we just say something that we've heard before, and you will look back and be like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. So don't feel too bad about it. Like, we've all been there. We all say things we kind of regret, but it's just
Hmm.
important now to be a bit more mindful and maybe
Hmm.
say an alternative phrase, because especially saying something like, oh, you don't want kids anyway, like, well, they do, and you know what, they're actually paying thousands of dollars to achieve that, maybe. So when
Right,
you say like,
absolutely.
oh, you don't want it anyway, that's invalidating their life choices, and maybe like the fact that they had to refinance their home to afford certain treatments. And so
Hmm.
that is like extremely unhelpful to be like, oh, you don't, yeah, kids aren't worth it anyway.
Absolutely. I haven't personally dealt with that struggle, but just seeing the clients that come in and deal with it is really sad. And they understand their friends didn't mean it in a bad way at all. They have friends who haven't dealt with it. So they don't really know what to say. Like you said, that just comes out of their mouth. They're trying to offer comforting words. And it really does. It sticks with the client. I will say these are some of the phrases that even repeat in their head. And you're right, Bridget. So much money is spent on these fertility treatments. It's insane, and it's hard to make that investment and still come up with zero. Like it's not an investment that's promised.
Hmm. So from like someone else's point of view, like, maybe like your old auntie who has 5 kids, like, comes up to you and says like, oh, maybe it's not meant to be. But like from that couple's point of view, it's not just I can't have a baby. It's we have spent maybe close to $100,000. It has been a point in our marriage, to the point where we are arguing over it now because of the money. So now we have
Hmm.
financial strain and marital strain, and we still don't have the investment that we are hoping to get at the end of this. So that one off comment of, oh, maybe it's just not meant to be, is like absolutely destroying to that couple who are putting everything on the line to maybe have a successful round of IVF after trying a few times before. I think that's really the important thing to remember, is it's multifactorial. It's not just, oh, they don't have a baby, but they have other great things in life. Yeah, of course they have other great things in life, but the fact that they don't have this child that they both have agreed what they want very badly is affecting everything else in their life, and now they might be in debt because of it. So, like, there's a lot weighing on this for them.
Absolutely. And I know you mentioned this early on in this episode. As the newer generations are coming out and social media is a big thing, it's more talked about. So, older generations, it might have been more hush hush. So, because of that, we're kind of seeing in real time people learning how to readjust our speech and the way we comfort people. So, we are learning, and we're also realizing it's okay. Like Bridget said, it doesn't matter how early, announce it. If you're happy, we're happy. It's okay. You don't have to wait if you don't want to. So it's a big change that's happening due to social.
That article in Motherly that I mentioned earlier
Mhm.
with Kirsten McLennan, she says, the struggle for infertility, it's not fair. And that's true. And it's something we need to remember. It is unfair that some people
Mhm.
have a one night stand maybe and end up immediately pregnant, and other loving
Mhm.
couples who are desperate for a child have to shell out a lot of money and completely change their life plans just to have one child. And that's just really good to remember, I think, moving forward, is that it's completely unfair, and it is completely just twist of
Mhm.
fate that one couple might end up lucky and the other unlucky.
Absolutely. Some things that we discuss in sessions that maybe some people who don't struggle with infertility aren't aware of. Um, they struggle with the fact that they're still trying for number one with the kids that they plan with their best friends, but their best friends are what they call lapping them, like on kid 2 or 3. So they struggle because they feel like they're being lapped and they weren't able to get pregnant and have their baby grow with their best friend's baby like they always had envisioned. And that's hard on them too. And the fact that maybe that couple also got to 3 kids by just, having fun, doing nothing, weren't even trying kind of mentality. And it is very hurtful for this couple to hear these things.
Yeah, and you need to remember that if you are one of those lucky couples, you didn't necessarily do something so right that you deserve to then tell other people, like, oh, well, I did this, and I never took birth control pills, and I eat this, and I go, and because it is sheer luck. Okay, like
Mhm.
you didn't do anything special, maybe, like, so please do not get preachy on social media and tell people what they should and should not be doing when we're all just trying to live life, okay? So it's just
Mhm.
very frustrating, I think, to use social media as like a soapbox to tell women, like, oh, well, you should never have used birth control 10 years ago. Like, it's too late now, so move on. I'm in this position now and you're not helping.
Also, that really is so unhelpful because then you would look at, say, for me, for an example, and I'm sure other women in my boat, I used birth control for so long because I got it on it way earlier than when I obviously lost my virginity due to acne. It wasn't for sex originally, it was for acne. And I was on it many years and I still have 2 children. So, like you said, like just getting on the internet and saying these things, it has no value. There's no proof, and it's useless because that you can't change the past.
Yeah, you're just making someone now what, depressed and regretful for, even though, yeah, no, this is completely unfounded. You can use birth control; it's safe. But
Yeah.
like, people hear, you get desperate. When
Mhm.
you've been in a situation for a while and you're willing to listen to anyone on social media who will tell you any advice. They could tell you to sleep upside down, with poop in your
Mhm.
hair, and you'll do it if you're desperate. And
Yeah.
so there's no point, making someone feel worse off and slightly more depressed, and now they're anxious about what decisions they've made in the past. It's just completely unnecessary. And I think people need to remember that they are not, these holier than thou, the chosen ones. You and your partner got lucky that you didn't struggle with infertility, and just be happy and share in that bliss, and don't make other people feel like they're making mistakes.
Agree. I absolutely agree. And now, what you've all been waiting for, and probably the only reason you're listening to us now, is for Tough Love with Jer Bear. All right.
Da-da-da.
So I'm going to read the questions out, and Bridget is going to read verbatim what Jerry wrote. Here we go. We asked her first, do you think infertility was talked about enough back in your day?
Jerry said, not really. I had several friends and two cousins with difficulty, and we were only 26 to 29 years old. The cousins I did not know until after conception with fertility drugs. The friends talked to each other, but not with me. But I was married first and had children first, so I may not have been paying attention enough. I do know after they each had one, then they were more open and they explained, a second should be close. I also think people were afraid to talk about it because people were having 3 to 8 children with fertility drugs, and they didn't want to talk about or explain themselves about reduction or not. Mum babysat the Quints, remember? When we were growing up, twins were a natural thing with only 3 sets in my high school of 1,600 people. That's not the case now with later marriages and pregnancies. So I'm just going to decode what she meant by that because I'm like the Jerry whisperer.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, Jerry was one of the first married in her friends group. So she's saying, I was married and we were pregnant with Marissa. So I wasn't paying attention to if someone was having fertility struggles because she was so overwhelmed with a business, a new marriage, a new baby. she really couldn't like focus on stuff like that. But she did have some cousins and two of her friends who did struggle with fertility. And she mentions about people were having 3 to 8 children with fertility drugs. So she's talking about like people doing IVF and stuff and having multiples. And then back in the day, they used to implant multiple like blastocysts and embryos because the thought was that they would fail. So you might get lucky and have 1 or 2 at the end. Nowadays we don't do that at all because it's dangerous, and you just implant one at a time. So she says mum used to babysit the Quints, remember? So mum is our paternal grandmother. She babysat for everybody. She was such a good like mom and babysitter and grandma. And she had a set of quintuplets in town that she babysat, and they were very, very early IVF babies. I think they were older than us, Maris, right?
No, I thought they were born when I was already, like, I remember hearing about them when I was like, I don't know, 5 or 6, I feel like.
Oh, okay. So they were born in the mid 90s then, maybe mid to late 90s.
You know what? We're going to ask that. That's the next thing I'm going to ask Jerry because now I don't remember.
Yeah, maybe you're right, but they were still like relatively early, IVF
Yeah.
pregnancy. And our grandmother babysat them. So Jerry saying like, you didn't want to have to explain yourself if, how did you end up with 5 babies?
Hmm.
So that's what she means by that answer.
Yes, yes. Well, you are the Jerry Whisperer. I feel like you've just given yourself that official title. I like it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
All right. Next question we asked her. Do you think people struggle to celebrate others when they are suffering with infertility and all of their friends are having baby showers?
My cousin wouldn't go to showers. My friends were always upbeat and happy. It depends on the individual and when was the last disappointment and how long they've been trying. Today, I think it's different since numbers are more like 50-50 with people using fertility treatments. Only one friend chose not to try anything. She was very religious and felt it wasn't meant to be, but I had to ask her straight out, otherwise, she wouldn't talk about it. We didn't have clubs, etc., no Facebook. That came after all of you were born.
All right. Well, I felt like some of that was straightforward, but I don't know if you wanted to decode a little bit, Jerry Whisperer.
So she had a friends who were always, I know the friend she's talking about. They're same personality, still upbeat and happy for everyone. But she
Mhm.
did have a cousin who opted out of baby showers. And I bet you at that time it was probably very rogue and she probably got some shit for it.
Mm.
Whereas nowadays it would be so much more acceptable to just be like, no, I don't want to go to a baby shower. There was no Facebook, there was no support group. So, you didn't have somebody to lean on. So, you wouldn't really know. Maybe people kept it kind of quiet. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just what she's saying at the end there.
Mhm. All right. And we asked her one last question, and it is, do you know if your friends around you suffered silently or not?
Maybe again, I was ahead of all of them and struggling on my own with new business, children, etc. So I would say yes, and I was oblivious. Not enough around me did. Only heard about the sensational ones with too many and petri dish babies, test tube babies. I was really young then, 18.
Okay. That was pretty straightforward. You don't
Hmm.
you don't need to decode that one. It's interesting to see the huge change just, generation later from, what she experienced and then what you and I are experiencing, Bridget.
Yeah, it's because I guess it was so new then and you didn't really know, like, it obviously it wasn't talked about because it was so novel and you didn't know if it would
Mhm.
work, but you did
Mhm.
have these children all of a sudden, triplets, quadruplets, quints, and you were like, you know, that was a bit of a maybe like wearing a scarlet letter because it was like, well, obviously you use fertility treatment. So it was like you were the talk of the town. Whereas so many people undergo fertility treatments now, you don't know. People have just one child now and you would have no idea unless somebody told you, hey, we actually had to use IVF for this. So I think it is really a massive shift and we're only, talking a 30-year difference, how much has changed.
Yeah. Also, like, it's easier to be oblivious though, like when we were talking about social media earlier, right? You're not getting access to everyone's life every minute of the day. So unless you're speaking to them, seeing them regularly, it's really easy to be oblivious, honestly.
Gosh, yeah. It's you get so wrapped up in your own life, you forget.
Mhm.
Even if with social media, I forget. I forget the
Mhm.
dates of showers and stuff all the time. Thank God I send my gift early because I mean, I'm talking day of. I'm like, "Oh yeah." Like you get so wrapped up and you're so busy in the modern world. We're so busy. I got so much going on. And it's not that I'm not happy for my friends. I just genuinely like a space cadet. So
Mhm.
unless you're talking to someone all the time about it, or they're very open on social about their journey, they're
Mhm.
updating everyone like, hey, this is what we're trying, this is what we're doing. Yeah, it's really easy to just kind of get lost in it all and totally oblivious.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I mean, times have changed, that's for sure.
Hmm. So we just want to say thank you so much to anyone who's returned this season, to anyone who's new to us this season. It really means so much to us. And we are trying to do improvements. Like, we will video ourselves. We have this new segment. We have tons of new guests that we can't wait to share with you this season. Please submit questions, comments, suggestions, and tell us what you want Jerry to answer, because she will be really unfiltered. Like, this was a softball question to start it off. We didn't want people to hate us. But please, like, if you have a question for Jerry, tell us. We will ask her. She loves to be involved. Girl has FOMO like I've never seen before. Like, she wants to answer the questions.
She loves it. So,
She
yeah.
does.
Thank you guys for coming back for season 2 and having faith in us. And yeah, send us the questions. Disclaimer, be prepared for the answers, is all I'm saying.
Hmm. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Everything, social media and YouTube, is at Psychotic PY Podcast. It means so much to us if you guys subscribe, even if you aren't regular listeners. But if you just hit that subscribe button, it really means a lot to us. And thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.